Going to call the Select Board meeting for May 12th to order at 7 p.m. Roy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
To the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda for May 12th, 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Consideration to add the hydraulic hammer to the agenda, at least for discussion.
Let's do that immediately after the skid steer. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the minutes for April 28th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for April 28th, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Rob? Mark?
I have nothing.
I just have one. Police Department update on page 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth line down, it said brief discussion held on solar-powered speed signs that have been erected in various locations. I don't think we have them erected yet, do we? So brief discussion held on solar-powered speed signs that will be erected in various locations.
To be erected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall whether that discussion was about the ones that exist, that will exist in our town or ones that exist in other towns. I don't recall what that discussion was about.
I thought we had talked about maybe putting one on Blissville.
Okay, then we'll go with your change.
Not all the sites were discussed in detail in that meeting. It was more to purchase them and some hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go as you recommend the change. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now, it's not on the agenda, but do we want to discuss the minutes for the special meeting on Monday, May 5th? For our meeting with the Planning Commission and the DRB? Or do we want to hold off on that and get feedback from those two organizations first before we approve the minutes?
I read through, I thought they were okay.
I did too.
Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with them.
Then, if you want to just get it done
Well, it
now.
was our meeting, right?
It was our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do it.
Would make a motion to approve the minutes for the Castleton Select Board and Planning Commission and DRB from Monday, May 5th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Mike, add to the May 5th minutes have been approved as well.
I did, thank you.
Citizens' comments, items not on the agenda. Oh, we don't have a podium, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I'll stand here in the middle.
Where's our podium, Mike?
It's down at the village school.
Marty Alexander from Bongzine, and I just wanted to say how lucky we are to have the rec building. When we had the 250th celebration, that we could move it inside. There were over 300 people in that gym, I counted them. And I'm just grateful that we had that space and we could swing to that and have a wonderful celebration.
Would you believe there were two select board members at that were having that conversation while we were there? Mark and I were both thinking just how
Yeah.
really tremendous it was to be able to do that and have that capability.
Yeah, it was nice to see such a big turnout to recognize the history that took place right here. Super, super important part of the American Revolution, and it started right in Castleton, yeah. And it was great that we could all get together in that building, had a stage,
Yeah.
so we could see the reenactment.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's all I want to say, thank you.
And I would like to say that the Friends of Recreation have been a huge part of that, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else, citizens' comments? Mary?
Mary McIntyre. Just, I didn't realize that our Treasurer Marty, our friends of Castleton, Treasurer Marty was gonna be here tonight. I was gonna touch on that, but I don't need to. I agree wholeheartedly. Just wanted to touch base with you guys, a little bit about the Cash Bash, as it is a very big event that will happen in that building. And a shout out to anybody listening. Like so many things with our rec, and any new things in town, this is something new, so we're kind of feeling our way with it. And we thought 300 tickets, yeah, we can sell 300 tickets. I believe we're going to, but I think there's a misconception. We thought we'd have them sold by now so we could plan the event. And people are saying, oh, well, we have till June 7th. Well, everybody out there, we have to plan this thing. So we have to have those tickets sold. So if you want a ticket, please buy your tickets. That would be my shout out to the community, so that we can not all have ulcers ready to explode the 6th of June. But I appreciate all the support that the select board and town members and everyone who uses the rec center is giving the businesses. They're feeling the love from the rec center because they're feeling it. They see the crowds when they leave events, go to their places of business. And I think that's why so many of them are supporting this event. You know, our little bakery, Michelle's Sweet Creations, she's doing the 600 plus desserts. I mean, she recognizes how vital the rec center is to our community and how great it's going to be to have a community event there. So, and same thing with both, well, the Raylands have more than one eatery, but the Raylands and Third Place, they've all been very supportive, and as all the businesses in town are being very supportive. And I just want to thank everybody for that opportunity, and make sure to get your tickets for the Cash Bash, and coming out, I think it's going to be a load of fun.
How many tickets have you sold so far?
We're pushing the 200 mark.
Well, that's good.
But, you know, we've run into some bumps. Again, we didn't know. We didn't know that the school wasn't going to let us put our flyers in the Thursday packets. That was a little breathtaking because that is inexpensive advertising, and we're doing this on, you know, we want to keep as many of the profits as we can, so we're doing it on a shoestring and a piece of bubble gum. And, but with the help of Julie Finnegan, I was able to get them in the Thursday packets last week. Seemed to be a little miscommunication with, there's a policy from the supervisory union, but different principals in different schools are interpreting it slightly different, and our principal was interpreting it right down to the letter that we were an outside fundraiser. But my point was, this is a community event. The rec center benefits the children that attend the schools and our entire community, and we are a nonprofit. So Julie went with that to the supervisory union, and for now, we're able to do that.
Great.
I'm glad you got it done.
Yeah, so, you know, again, growing pains, as we all know, we face a lot.
Well, if you think of anything else we can do to help you with free advertising, let us know.
Buy tickets.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Mary, appreciate all you do.
Anything else for citizens' comments?
I have a comment, but it's about the skid steer.
So will it be pertinent to the discussion about the skid steer then? All right, then let's do that. Anything else? Okay, let's move on. Rec department update. We don't have a rec director
No.
here.
He went home sick today.
I read the rec department update. This is basically the same thing that's on the weekly update on social media, correct?
Pretty much, except for no, I guess it's all there.
So does the board have any comments or questions, or I don't feel the need to read this, do you, for the minutes? It can be included in the minutes anyways?
This will be included with the minutes,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I don't see the need to read this report here out loud right now.
Can I just make a comment?
Certainly.
Thank you. I met with the rec commission last Tuesday. I know Martha's on, about their strategic plan. And John was there, the rec director was there. So they're, just to update the board, they're working on, their vision for the building and use of the rooms. We walked to each room and talked about potential uses. And then we talked about these long-term rentals and how important having the long-term rentals in there will be to trying to meet some of these goals that the select board's pinning on the wall for, I think there was, at one point, there was 95% thrown around and there was $50,000 thrown around. So when I met with them, I used the $50,000 as the starting point for that conversation. When I told them it doesn't include an adventure camp because adventure camp is kind of self-supporting, so there's really no revenue generated. It pays for just the cost of it, which is coming up soon. So there are still some deferred maintenance that needs to happen, and I think John included that in one of his reports about the air handlers on the roof, that McClure's is supposed to get up there with them and look at them, but there could be some issues with the air handlers and the roof is leaking. And it's coming down through the ceiling near his office, right next to the copier. It didn't land on the copier, thank God, but there's some work to be done up there on the roof. So more to follow once we kind of get a better feeling of what it is and what it's going to take to fix it. And if I can do to Friends of Rec, I drove around today looking at some of the fields and where we're at in its current condition, and I am going to send Andy Vermillier, as the president of the Friends of Castleton Parks and Rec, a list of things that need to be completed and see what they are willing to take a look at and tackle. So that'll be this week. We're just not over the finish line yet on some of those little small things. So, but I'll reach out to him this week via email.
Since we're talking about rec, I took a little tour around town today and went to look at the road repair and went by Hydeville baseball field, and then I went up by Crystal Beach, and I was really pleased to see 30, 40 people there.
Yeah, the beach was packed.
Yeah, the beach
Enjoying the
was
sun.
packed
I was just really pleased to see that, and then I went down North Road and stopped at Dewey Field, and absolutely impressed with how that looks now. The grass is cut, it just looks super.
Beautiful.
And the
Parking's
T-ball
really
field, you
nice.
can see, it's not that's still a work in process, but you can see the potential there now. And
You
then I
can
went
see
and
it from the road now, at least.
Yes.
Place to park.
What, T-ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be room for 3 cars.
So I just want to congratulate you and your staff on the job that you're doing for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we know it's a work in progress. There is a local business has agreed to donate the material to finish off the T-ball field. We do have to install a culvert, and if you saw that little pond that was there today, that's why we need the culvert. And then clearing of the fence line of trees. We're not on the property border. We're about 8 feet away from it, so we have some room to clear behind it. But there's just little things.
Significant progress, though.
It is,
So
thank you. Yeah, I'll let people know.
I was really happy to see it.
Would our roadside mower handle that?
What?
Cleaning behind that fence?
It's too big. We don't have that much room. We literally have like less than 8 feet. It'd be about 8 feet maybe.
You can't go over the fence with a mower.
There's some big stuff in there. That's
Oh,
not,
okay,
certainly.
okay,
It's gonna be a chainsaw and then some hand clipping and just to get it down, to the ground, and then we can get a machine in there. We get that new skid steer, we can get in there
Scott already volunteered to spend his next vacation week there, right?
with a shovel.
Mary?
Yeah, mine makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, if you guys have gotten out of your cars, whether you did or you didn't, the batting cage that Friends of Rec raised money for, and a group of coaches built that down there. So that's a sight to see as well. And it's fun to see when you go to the games. Some of the other kids are in the batting cage while their siblings are out on the field. So that was a big project. that Friends raise money for. And I think we should make it clear, we have a group of friends that come to meetings, but we also have a bigger community of, I refer to them also as friends, they just don't have time for meetings. You know, but when you call them, they'll come running. If they're not coaching something, or they're not, you know, doing parental stuff or working. But, you know, I think we've got a really motivated group. I don't know what one of your projects was, Mike, that you saw, but I know that John called me about getting friends to come up with somebody to paint dugouts at the elementary school. So we do have that lined up.
Great, thank you.
Made a couple phone calls, first to the coach, who reached to the parents, because, you know, I'm kind of out of that group. I don't know all the parents, but coaches do. And so she worked that out, and we're going to get, but of course today it was beautiful to go out and look at all these things, but we've had a lot of rain to try and paint around. But in any event, we've got a big group of friends, so thank you again.
Nice, we have a great community.
I know nobody wants to kill this one, but so the batting cages, I've been down there, a tree was taken down, and I put in my report, and most people won't see it if they don't read the report, is the playground at Dewey Field needs to be taken down and replaced, and there's money sitting there both in reserve and in what the select board authorized, and it sunsets, well, the reserve doesn't sunset, but the other money sunsets on June 30th. So that's why I'm pushing to going, we need someone with a vision for that rec, that playground area, and get a cost estimate together. Because what we can't pay for ourselves, we might be able to reach out and get some donations made to it. It doesn't need to be as big as the one at the elementary school. It just needs to be something that safe, and that parents that are there with their children playing ball games, and the ones that aren't playing can play over on the playground, and then the students from the university can be down there late at night and drink and sit on it. But it's something that I want to push hard to use the money that the select board authorized to get the work done. And I did reach out and talk with Lee Jamison. They're going to still build the dugout for Hydeville and build a new one, refurbish the old one, the benches, stuff like that. That stuff was already purchased, and it's been sitting at Gilmore's for over a year. They sold it to us at a certain price, and I'll bet it's probably not the same price now. They didn't set it aside, it's just kind of earmarked. So I want to get it done so it doesn't cost them any more money. And Lee was going to reach out to some other volunteers to try to get that done. So very appreciative of the efforts of everybody trying to make our community better.
One other thing with the Dewey Field, where the pine tree was taken down, it hit one of the other pine trees. I went down and looked today, because the lady called and said there were branches hanging, and we can't get in there with a piece of equipment without leaving big tracks. They're up in the air 20 feet, so I don't know if you want me to put a couple of cones out there and some ribbon, or just wait another week and hopefully we can get in there with the machine in the basket.
Yeah, probably just cordon it off right now, just to keep people away. We got the keep out tape.
Call John tomorrow so he knows that it was me that went out and did that.
Okay.
It's a woman that's local that walks her dog down there.
No good deed goes unpunished, Scott.
I know, and usually I get caught no matter what.
No, thank you.
Just a note, Mike, before the building was taken off the market, Friends was looking at a project to do, and we had explored doing a jungle gym, if you will, or play center for Dewey Field. So I actually have some brochures. We had voted on one that was very reasonably priced, very similar to what's at the beach, size-wise. Obviously not big like the elementary school, but something that we thought, I think it went from 2 to 12 years old. So something that would entertain that group. so, rather than reinvent the wheel, I can pull those brochures.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
That would be great, Mary, thank you.
So,
Anything to expedite it?
one other comment, that Jungle Gym Play Center at Crystal Beach was done with the Castleton Lions Club. So that may be another avenue we could get. I mean, we went and put it together with one person from the company that told us what way to go. We were there a day, 20 of us. So,
Well, I guess once, I'll see what Mary has, to look at the cost and what we have and come up with a,
Sounds like it's very possible that Friends of Rec already gave us an excellent place to start, and if that's the case, then let's get started there.
that'd be great.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so we're going to move on to purchase of a new skid steer. Mike, we discussed this, you and I discussed this earlier today. I reviewed the package after that discussion, and I'm inclined to agree with your recommendation, but let's hear your pitch.
Well, the research was done primarily by Jeff Davison, our highway foreman, for the tracked one, the tracked version, because that's what the direction the board wanted to go in after last meeting. So we shifted gears and we spoke with, what, five different vendors. And to get the Bobcat, that we're recommending the Bobcat, the quote that we got from Champlain Valley Equipment was $63,405. Now, this does not include a new bucket, because in one of the bids, it had the bucket in there, and it was expensive, for one. So I talked to Jeff today, and our bucket will fit on it, and it's fine, so we don't need to buy a new bucket. And it was wider, it was a bigger bucket, but we don't really need it. So based on the two prices, so $63,405 from Champlain Valley Equipment in Middlebury, and $62,444.75 from Bobcat of Saratoga, located in Gansevoort, New York, for a model M0349 T66 new T4 compact track loader or skid steer. That would be my recommendation. The rest of them were bigger machines and more money, way more money.
Is this machine available?
This one is available on their lot
So we could own it next week.
within whatever the shipping, they're gonna, get it up here and all that stuff.
So we could put it to work this month.
That would be preferred.
I mean, it could be done. If we-
Yeah, I mean,
if we
it's
made
just-
the decision tonight, we could put it to work this month.
Yeah, and hopefully it's everything that's you wanted, like the warranties on there, the engine size.
Well, I'm going to open it up to the rest of the board for discussion and/or a motion if they choose to make one.
Can I make one statement first?
Sure.
The high flow hydraulics that are on both of those machines, if we're gonna use the other attachments like the stump grinder and those kind of things, that needs the high flow hydraulics, and both dealers recommended that anyway. So, the price is included in both of those.
Dick, can I make a comment?
Yes.
So I went around today just in town and looked. There's 18 stumps that are 16 to 18 inches in diameter. They run around $225 to have them ground down. That doesn't pay for taking the debris away. We usually have to go back after and take it away. And there are 3 stumps that are 30+ inches. And I called, there's signs on Old 4A of a new man that grinds stumps. It's too big for him, but if he were to give us a quote, it'd be $400 a stump, anything over 30 inches. Like the one they just cut down at the baseball field, that's 28 inches, and it's pine, and it comes up out of the ground a long ways, and they want it, when they grind them, it's usually 2 to 3 inches below grass surface, so you gotta go down quite a ways. But those are things that could be done, that's my pitch, right away.
Okay, well, that's a separate item on our agenda, Scott, which,
Yep.
no, the hydraulic hammer is a separate item on the agenda.
I would absolutely be in favor of Bobcat brand. I think that they have the proven dependability, reliable. They made the first skid steer in 1960. This is the right horsepower for us. And it's American-made. It's the only one that's American-made. I dissent a little bit from the idea that we don't need a bucket. If you ever use it as a track loader, you can't load with a bucket that's narrower than the tracks.
It's 5, I think ours is 60 inches.
Hmm?
I think ours right now is 60 inches.
How wide is this machine?
I don't remember, I had to look at the specs on it.
But you know, if you go into a pile of dirt,
Yeah.
the tracks are gonna ride up on it, and then you can't get the bottom with the bucket.
Most of
Maybe
this,
we don't use it for that.
well, most of the, we use this a lot for shoulders, when they're doing the shoulders on the road. And we use the attachments for post hole digging, we use it for splitting wood for the burn for the highway garage. They don't use it much as a loader itself.
Okay.
The
Then I
beach,
guess you don't need it.
the beach might, we spread sand around the beach before we got the Kubota. Now that we have the Kubota, they use that to spread it around with, so we don't use it for that anymore either.
Who services the machine that we currently have?
The Kubota?
No, the Bobcat.
Oh, it's been only internal.
Okay.
So this one, because it's a Bobcat brand, we could have it serviced in Middlebury, but you know that usually when you buy something,
Can't buy it in Saratoga and have it serviced in Middlebury.
yeah, it's one of those things where if it's a warranty thing, things under warranty, but you're at the bottom of the list usually if you didn't buy it through them. But I would say that this didn't include the shipping. Jeff did send me matter of fact, he's coming in right now. He sent me the cost of the dealer freight, PDL, and all that. So the one for Champlain Valley would be even higher when you add that stuff in there. I didn't have it at the time to add it in there.
Also, it's not that they're not charging it.
Correct.
It's just not in
We
there.
just didn't have it at the time.
Okay. So it's gonna be another couple thousand.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. I was gonna say for under $1,000, I would still stay with a local Vermont company, because I think there's a lot of benefit in supporting businesses that are in our proximity. But at some point, you have to cry.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think 3,000 would probably be a little bit too much.
3,000's too much. If it was under 1,000, I would have made that motion, but for 3,000, and the Middlebury quote did not include the
Strobes. So there's another 286.
Yeah. So that alone would put it around 1,200, and then if there's another couple thousand in freight,
Yeah, so 32, 35, somewhere in that range.
And Ganver's less than an hour away, driving time.
It's no farther than probably, we take our stuff down to Salem Farm Supply and we take it down to Dolores, or whatever it is now, it's not Dolores anymore, but. So it's not like and we bring the Dodge up to Richmond, so we have vehicles that we don't bring locally because of where the dealers are. The ones that we purchased it through anyway.
So where's the money coming from, Mike?
I would recommend this comes out of the Highway Department Vehicle Reserve.
Okay. Which is appropriate.
And I think I explained it in my messages, but we're putting $15,800 or $15,400 a year over the next 5 years it was supposed to have been purchased 5 years from now. So because of timing, and it's the first vehicle that was in the equipment replacement plan, that $15,000 something will just each year roll into the reserve, and by the time we're done in 5 years, it'll be paid off. So we're not stealing any real money from another vehicle or piece of equipment to do it.
just like the other vehicles that we've been getting, I think it would be a really good idea to undercoat this machine.
Yeah, same, I think that the message has been very clear to the highway department that, people are going out there, the select board going out there on a limb and buying new equipment, and it's up to us to make sure that we stretch every ounce of life out of it that we can by doing preventive maintenance.
Well, I mean, we've seen the replacement policy. We're stretching most everything
Yeah.
quite a few years past their expected lifespan anyway, so we really need to keep on top of that.
This machine that we're replacing is 20 years old, but if it had been rust-proofed, it probably would go another 5.
Yeah. Which is what it was supposed to do.
So now this is our chance to keep that thing working for another 25 years, so, and taking care of it. I'll give them credit that they've gotten a lot better about washing this stuff. They've been spot painting stuff so that when there's rust starting to show, so there is a marked improvement from where we were a couple of years ago.
Good.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Rob?
Go ahead, Mark, you can spend the money this time.
I got some criticism from the last meeting because we took a paving bid that was not the lowest. It was less than 1/100th of 1% higher, and I suggested we go with the one we did because it was local. And I'm kind of in my head thinking that if it was for 1%, I would want to stay with a local company. This isn't 1%. So for anybody that's listening on Zoom, I just want to clarify why I made that motion at the last meeting and why at this one I'm going to make a motion that we take Bobcat from Saratoga, which is the lowest bid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think we want to keep it local, but there's a limit. So I would make a motion that we purchase a new T66 track loader from Bobcat of Saratoga for $62,444.75, meeting the specs that we have on this sheet.
With the funds coming from?
The Highway Vehicle Replacement Fund.
That adequate verbiage?
Yeah, that's good.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Before I call the question, Scott brought up the thing about a stump grinder, and that's not part of this motion, and it's not part of this discussion, but just for the board's future chewing pleasure, what's the cost of a stump grinder?
It was around 12,000. Yeah, pretty sure that's around 12 grand. And what I was proposing is, I talked to Scott about it today, is looking at the highway department, where they're gonna land at the end of the fiscal year, and the tree warden's budget, and see if we're somewhere in the neighborhood of that amount, and then bring it back before the board for your consideration.
Okay. So I'm gonna call the question.
Would we have a couple different bids and from
Yeah.
different manufacturers?
Correct.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where it's an attachment that fits this machine. Would it also fit the backhoe if we wanted it, or would it be just this machine?
It'd be just this.
Okay.
But
This
there
would
are,
be the appropriate machine for that, Scott?
Yes.
Okay,
Can I make one comment?
certainly.
Okay, I only know this because my brother's in East Middlebury, they bought a used one, and it wouldn't keep up the speed for the pumps, and they tore it apart on the first stump. So my impression of the used one is I would stay completely away from them.
Well, we're not making that decision tonight anyways, but
Perfect.
it's gonna be, typically, our town manager and his staff do a pretty good job of doing the research, so we're gonna expect them to do the same, which they always do.
yeah, we make our share of mistakes, but we try to at least bring something that's common sense, I
Well, it
guess.
usually makes sense. All right, so I'm gonna call the question now. All in favor of buying the Bobcat?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I wanna see that on the lot in operation tomorrow morning at 07:45.
Sure. I can tell you now, if you want me to, you have to fire me, because I can't meet that one.
Would you be kind enough to let me know when the anticipated delivery is?
I can.
Okay, thank you.
That machine will be much, much, much more versatile than the current one. We'll
Yeah.
get a lot of use out of that.
I did enough research, and I'm not anywhere near as well-versed as you are or Scott is, but I did enough research, and I Actually ran a wheeled skid steer a few times.
This is a
And,
lot safer too.
I think it's gonna be a big step up. One better tool to have in the box. So let's talk about a hydraulic hammer, Mike.
Right, Jeff's on, and so after talking with Jeff, especially about the Moscow Road grant project and the cost that one quote we got that they would charge us to use the hammer on that ledge up there, it just seemed a lot of money to pay and not have something at the end besides some rock gone, and that could we use it other places. So that was the kind of the thought process behind it, is buy it now. We can include it in our in-kind portion of the grant. We can't put an invoice in there saying we bought this, but it's gonna pay for itself basically through the grant. But I think that there's a select board member that might wanna speak to this. We had a conversation, Mark and I had a conversation today, and Jeff, and I shared this with Jeff too, and I did a bunch of research, before the meeting on how to match up the correct size hydraulic hammer with the piece of equipment you own, so that it's sized appropriately and can work the way it's designed, and what types, the rating, there's, lightweight, medium weight, and the heavyweight one. And if we buy something that's not capable of doing the job that we anticipated to do, then it's not a good deal. So at this point, I think I'll defer to Mr. Brown, on what he found today.
Well, Jeff, I want to say I really applaud you for taking the initiative to look at something, a way that we could spend our money and end up with something that we're done. But in my opinion, the two machines that we have that you could put a hammer on, which would be the rubber-tired loader backhoe, that's we'll call it a 20,000-pound class machine, and the excavator that we have, which is also a 20,000-pound class machine. They're both a tiny bit lighter than that. I think those size for a 1,000-pound hammer, meaning it has 1,000 pounds of impact. And that's what Jeff had put us a quote in for. That's pretty much a pavement breaker. So if you need to break up a sidewalk, boy, that's the machine. But 1,000 pounds is not much force. Pretty sure if you gave Rob a 12-pound sledgehammer, he could put 1,000 pounds of force into a spike on the ground.
I get paid by the hour, just so you know.
You couldn't do it as fast, but to do, that's a small breaker. To do ledge, like limestone ledge, you need a 7,500-pound hammer. And if you're gonna do solid ledge, you need a 15,000-pound hammer. And that ledge up on Moscow Road is not soft limestone. And I think if we bought that 1,000-pound hammer and went up with our backhoe, we'd be there for 6 months, and I don't think you'd get more than 4 inches into that ledge.
Do we know what the hammer that we have from the quote from John Thomas, do we know what he has for a hammer?
I don't know what his hammer is, but I know that that's a 50,000-pound machine.
Yeah.
So it's 2.5 times bigger than our track excavator. I would hate to see I'd love to see us buy that piece of equipment and own it at the end of it. But I'd hate to see us do that and it's not gonna do the job, and I don't believe that there's even a remote chance that it's gonna do the job. If we were in disagreement on that, I would suggest that we rent a hammer for a week and go up and try and do it. But if you look, I think Gorilla Hammer gave us one of those, wasn't it Gorilla?
Yeah, I just read stuff on their website. I found Gorilla to be one of the most informative.
Did you read small breakers, medium breakers,
Yeah,
large breakers?
I printed it, it's all right there. I printed it out, I was reading it tonight.
I talked to a friend of mine that has breakers in a quarry, and of course, they use them 20 hours a week, big ones, and he goes, they're maintenance nightmares. At the end of the year, you gotta rebuild it, it's $10,000 every year. It's a lot of maintenance. Again, they use it every day. Some of the guys in the quarry are pretty delicate, but not too many. So I would love to see us have this piece of equipment in our arsenal. I just don't think that we have anything to drive it.
How many times a year do we need one?
Very few, I mean, probably less than 3. I mean, we run, what we have is we run into, like, putting a culvert in, you run into ledge, and sometimes the excavator is just not got enough oomph to get it out of there, especially if it's without digging way around it and making more of a big mess. So the hammers would be nice then. We've avoided, in some cases, like on Belgo Road, we haven't put a culvert in where it really needs to be one because of the ledge. I mean, it's solid ledge all the way across the road. So it's gonna take a big machine and time to get that out of there, to be able to properly put that in. So we don't run into that scenario much, but we do run into a point where there are places that we could better seed a culvert down deeper in the ground if we could get the ledge out of it, so.
And you have to start at an edge and shelf it. You know, if you put the hammer in the middle of the ledge, the rock has to expand before it breaks. And you can't expand it from the middle. You gotta start on the edge and chip and chip and chip, and it takes a long time.
I have some photos, and I obviously can't share it in here, but, because there's no Wi-Fi to project, but, Jeff sent me a picture of one of our employees, with a jackhammer chiseling out ledge. And when you do it that way, it's just never gonna happen. And so they were trying to do this, and this is the kind of stuff that it's frustrating. You're like, I got a project, I gotta
That's
put it.
probably a 1,000-pound hammer.
Yeah, I don't know what that jackhammer is we have, but you can see,
Go right through a sidewalk like nothing
Yeah.
does.
but he's chipping away at that thing. It's just, for the amount of space that we gotta do it, just a hand jackhammer is not it.
How much extra strain does one of those hammers put on an excavator as well?
It puts.
You know what I mean? We're trying to stretch all of our equipment, and if we're beating the hell out of it,
I would agree that when Paul Egan was here as the highway foreman, we rented it because they didn't want to beat the equipment up. Because it does put a lot of strain on it. Now, there are couplers that go on there that they're supposed to wear that before it wears the machine, but it's still,
it's a jackhammer.
Yeah.
a
So let
big
me ask
jackhammer.
Mark two simple questions. We have 20,000-pound machines, the excavator and the backhoe both, or a light 20,000. And the biggest hammer we can put on those is 1,000 pounds? Then I'm not seeing any reason to have this conversation at this point, to be honest.
Unless there's somebody that has experience that can say that's all wrong, but
I would say from what you guys said, if we were gonna do anything first, we should rent one with that size hammer on it and see if it'll actually do what we're expecting it to do.
and personally, I think that would be a waste, but if there was the appetite to buy one, I would wanna see us rent it.
Yeah, I mean, just to know, I mean, I agree, it's probably not gonna do the job, but I don't know that much about them. But I'd rather, throw a little bit out to learn a lesson than throw a lot out to learn a lesson.
Right.
So when we get into this job up on Moscow Road, our course of action at this point would probably be to either hire somebody or rent a bigger machine?
Yeah, I was going back and forth with Jeff today while he's in class about, it may be, to me, it's worth it probably just to rent a machine with a hammer for a week, an adequate sized machine too. And we'll get the job done, we'll include it in the cost of the project, and we'll get a better sense of what size piece of equipment is needed to do what we want to do. Because we've never owned one. We've rented stuff before, or we've contracted it out, so we've never really played around with one ourselves. So this would give us an opportunity to
Right.
to do that.
See what it's capable of.
Yeah. Because we might find out that renting is the way to go if we're only gonna, and I was saying Jeff today, is you rent it for a week and you pick out those 3 or 4 project areas that we know.
And hammer
And we
them
just
all at
hammer them
once.
all out and be done with it, and we'll get a better sense of what's a good course of action going forward.
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense, because you did a lousy job of selling me on buying a hammer for our own machines at this
One
point.
less a piece of equipment to break too, if they're that,
I'd rather have a stump grinder than that hammer.
I mean, if we
Yes.
got a lot of sidewalk to break up, that's one thing, but if we're trying to remove rock on Moscow Road, that's You gotta have the right tool.
I want to put sidewalks in, I don't want to.
We could try it out in front of my house if you guys would like.
No, you know what I'm saying, it's, you know. I've
Why
seen
did I know
guys
that was
break up concrete with a jackhammer, and I wouldn't wanna try breaking up rock with that same jackhammer. So are we gonna move on? Appointment to the Rutland County Transportation Advisory Council.
So, the two appointments are for the primary and alternate, and I would recommend that you stay this way it is now. I'm the primary and Jeff's the alternate. And there's a form we gotta fill out. You can't print it out, it's online. So the board has to make a motion, then we're gonna have to go in, fill it out, your name's on it, and it has your place for your signature. And it's not really a signature, it's electronic, so it scripts it, but makes your, Richard A. Combs, I think it is, into a script. So it's in the minutes though, so if you make the appointment, then tomorrow Christine will fill it out, and myself and Jeff will be effective 1 July, that's when our current term ends. We'd be the
Period of 1 year?
1 year, yeah.
So you can meet this in your schedule, all right?
I do it now,
Well, I know you work a lot.
so, yeah, there's no change to what I'm doing now.
You're good with it?
Oh,
Jeff,
good.
you're good with it too?
I would say he's not objecting.
He's not objecting. Well, I appreciate you doing it. I would make a motion that we appoint Mike Jones as primary appointment to the Rutland County Transportation Advisory Council and Jeff Davidson as alternate.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And say thank you, but.
Aye.
Commissioner and alternate to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. I know we've had 2 people express interest, but I didn't see anything in my packet as far as their letters or anything.
I received an email message from Liz McKay, who wants to be reappointed as the primary, and she said Mike Skovner would be the alternate. And I provided a copy of what their duties and responsibilities are, and Liz also received that.
She's been serving us that
She has,
for a
yeah.
few years.
Yeah.
Can you guys not hear me?
We
Yeah.
can now.
Now we can.
No. Oh, all right. I was talking, I was like, yeah, they're totally just ignoring me.
That's true.
So, all right, yeah. No, I had stuff to chime in on the hammer, but whatever, and then I'm good with being the alternate.
Great. Did you have anything more you want to add on the hammer?
I just think that we're talking about different ledge. We're talking about stuff that's exposed and kind of jutting out. The handheld jackhammer removed ledge today. So it's essentially has stone rot. It's seamed out stuff that you're just chipping away. I mean, I worked in quarries. If this was a granite or a harder stone, there's no way. I totally agree with you. You definitely need a bigger hammer. This is to remove, we always called it stone rot, where it's been exposed to the elements. It's been oxidized, the water's gotten in there. Like I said, they peeled off some of that in Pond Hill today with an electric powered jackhammer. So I totally get what you guys are saying. I wouldn't want something that wouldn't do the job either. It's when I had business, if I could roll something in to a job and I would get a piece of equipment, then I always try to do that. So that's it.
You think that 1,000-pound hammer would do the work that you need it to do?
Yeah, my understanding is that Chestnut uses a mini excavator with a hammer, a small hammer as well. I said we're not really. It's not. It's I guess when you imagine a hammer at a quarry, it's not even close to. I would say concrete is probably more dense and has a stronger PSI than the slate shale that we're trying to get through. That's my opinion. I talked with Mike Smith about it. We were out today. After class, I swung up and checked on the guys, with the jackhammer. Some of it he can even get with a bucket. It's more, you have to get in there with the seam. So once you start peeling away those seams, and like you said, Mark, you have to have an open end. So you're not just gonna start pounding vertically, trying to free up, make a giant ditch. This is more to take protrusions that are in the ditch that Mike has to dig the ditch out around the protrusion into the road. So we're trying to pop back, 2-3 feet just to keep that a nice clean ditch line. But like I said, that's just my opinion. I can't believe that if it can be removed with an electric one-man jackhammer, that a hydraulic hammer wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the 1,000-pound hydraulic hammer would do about the same work as the electric jackhammer, just with a lot less effort.
Yeah. Like I said, I totally get it, and I know where we're at budget-wise. Just another, it's 28 hours of use with FEMA rates, and when I plug those in on the grant, then it's done. It's reimbursed. So with Mike's time, you plug in the backhoe and you plug in the hammer, and you're there at 28 hours.
And you think it would be better utilized on the rubber-tired backhoe than the excavator?
Yeah, I wouldn't put any more wear and tear on that excavator. Yeah, I mean, we should, Mike takes really great care of it. It's older, we should stretch it out. The backhoe, it sits quite a bit. It would be nice to have something to, another tool in the arsenal. There's ledge all over the place if you look, in the ditches. We had a spot just up on Piontek. We're replacing culverts, and we hit ledge, so I had to order a squash culvert instead of just dropping a plastic in. It's like I said, it's just another tool to have in the arsenal. If it was $15,000, I wouldn't even have brought anything up. It's at $5,000, it is kind of a gamble. The company is supposed to be reputable. I don't know if it's Gorilla. It's definitely Chinese made, but it's not going to be in a quarry where we're hammering 20 hours a week, where they are having to get rebuilt. And it's not, like I said, if it was granite or any hard stone, I would say no way. But the fact that it's stone rot, essentially, it's in water or it's exposed to the elements.
You're talking about all slate and shale, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm not qualified to opine on this as much as you are, or,
Well, Jeff has been doing the job. I haven't, and maybe this is different than what I was thinking. If he's talking about a couple of feet of protruding ledge so you can get a good ditch line, is quite a lot different than what I was thinking we were talking about.
so Jeff, if you had this tool, how many times a year do you think it would be handy to have as opposed to trying to work around a piece of rock? I mean, I know I'm asking for an educated guess, so I'll take it for what it's worth.
I mean, just by the nature of the geology we have here with the slate quarries, I mean, there's protrusions all over the place. There's Pond Hill, Piontek. I mean, you could even pull some off of the side on a creek, where creek's heading towards West Castleton. You have some ledge that's sticking out there, kind of getting close to the road. It wouldn't just sit. Mike and I talked when I first started, he's not gonna push for a piece of equipment that we get and all of a sudden it's sitting in the back of the barn somewhere forgotten about.
And Mike Smith agrees with you on this?
Yes, sir.
Hard to argue with Mike on stuff like this.
Those guys are doing the work.
The risk of this is that it breaks, doesn't work. We're out the money that was in the grant. It's not, we bought a $15,000 piece of equipment and it's gonna now, like, oh crap, it doesn't work. I mean, if we get a year's worth of work out of this thing, it's paid for, somebody else
If
paid
you
for
got
it.
if you got Moscow, you would, the John Thomas is $16,000 and that's us hauling the material out.
Was it 28,000, I think, without?
28,000 if he hauls it out.
So you and Mike Smith are confident this will do that job?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, you convinced me.
All right, thank you. And thank you, I said thank you for the skid steer as well. I was super muted, apparently.
Yeah, you were.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love that. That's gonna be a nice machine.
Oh, absolutely.
So do we want to backtrack to the hydraulic hammer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we missed some really important information.
I think so too.
I'll just say that I'm still not totally convinced, but I don't want to take a tool away from them that they're gonna,
What's your recommendation, Mike?
I would accept it because if it was a $15,000 piece of equipment, I'd say no way. I wouldn't even have brought it to you.
Well, I heard several different numbers. What is the number?
It's 5,000.
5225.
Okay.
For that, and it can be included in the grant, it's low risk to me.
That's Terran, right?
Yes. I had a,
That's probably Chinese as well.
it is.
And that's the price if we order it today, not the price a month ago?
It said on there, I think they hold it for 30 days. It was,
He said he'll keep it until July 1st in case it was something that we needed to put off until the next budget.
Was there a warranty on that?
Yes, sir.
that was in the email I sent you to. There was a warranty. I think I have it in here. I had a packet here. I don't know where the hell it went. See ya.
Okay, we know who you are, Mike.
Yeah, no, I don't. There is a warranty on it though.
Well, if the
Where are
warrant,
you getting it from?
I'm sorry?
Who is that coming from? Directly from the company, or is there a dealer?
Directly from the company.
if there's a warranty and the warranty will last long enough to get through even that one job.
The warranty was very specific, though, on what it covers. I mean, if you're gonna go, it says, one of the things I read on this was that, you can't use it to like pry sideways, and it's for vertical.
Yeah.
Or if you're pushing stuff with it. But the warranty.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be plain operator error, so.
Well, we have a qualified operator, we know that.
So, yeah, I don't have
If
it.
it's 16,000 to do the job.
That's doesn't include the trucking part of it. so.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that Mike Smith would be as careful as you can be chopping ledge. It's not a easy job.
He's not a rookie. He's not even close to a rookie, so.
Huh?
I said, he's not even close to a rookie.
And if it doesn't work, didn't I hear Jeff volunteer to run the jackhammer for 3 weeks straight on it?
I did hear that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm down with that if it doesn't work. Like I said,
So-
I watched the Brent running the jackhammer with the tiny little bits that come with it, and it was shearing that stuff right off.
Here's the warranty.
So let's make a decision, guys.
Here's the, so that's what he said was the price delivered.
I didn't see that.
So are you on this?
What's that?
Are you?
Standard warranty is 12
Yeah,
months.
only because of the price.
Warranty will not be waived.
If it was more than that, I would have said no. I would rather rent one at that point.
I wouldn't have brought it to you if it wasn't at least feasible.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you, looking this over to make the best decision for the town. So, on Jeff's good recommendation, I'm gonna make a motion that we purchase the Terran hammer for $5,225.
What's the company's name again? I think it was at the back of that.
Pardon?
Yeah, I think the name of the company was on the email. The guy's signature was towards the end of it. Is it just through Terran, I guess? Is that just what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And where's the funds coming from, Mike?
This would come out of the operating budget and it'll get offset by the grant.
So would you be kind enough to include that in your motion too, Mark?
I'm sorry, I was,
It'll come out of the operating budget.
okay. I would revise that motion to be, we would purchase a hydraulic hammer to go on our Caterpillar loader backhoe for $5,225 to come from the highway operating budget.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion from the board? Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thanks, Jeff.
And then there's the
We are,
warranty information.
so we were back to and almost appointing the Rutland Regional Planning Commission representatives.
We get 12 months out of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, it was
Liz McKay and Mike Skovner. And if they're good with it, then I'll make a motion to appoint Liz McKay, for the
Primary.
primary and Mike Skovner for the alternate for the Rutland Region Planning Commission.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Do we know the term, Mike?
1 year.
For 1 year.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hey, thank you.
So Department of Liquor Control approvals. Before we do that, we're gonna have to do two separate motions because I think on the second one, in light of one member's
Yep.
stand on things that we won't be able to take action on that here tonight.
Now, who is Go Grocers? Which store is this one?
They're right behind the corner deli. They're behind them. I'd never heard them before. I was in talking with John, and he said, "Oh yeah, they're behind me."
Behind the corner?
Yeah, there's that longer part of the building. I guess that's where they
The
are.
car museum used to be a million years ago.
I mean, that's what he said, but I'm not really I don't know if he's accurate or not. I've never heard of him before. On the liquor license, does it have an address?
I couldn't find one, but maybe I didn't look hard enough.
Is it the Jiffy
Yeah,
Mart?
it's 111. It was 111 Route 30.
Yeah.
Not the Jiffy Mart then. I didn't even know that business existed.
But I think this is Mohammed that used to own
The corner store.
Corner.
Yeah, he did.
Because this is Mohammed Chitani. Business address is Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, that's the same one the email that Hashim, that's the one he had. That was the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I'd kind of be, before I vote on it, I'd kind of like to know where the store is and what the store is. I mean,
Do they have a current license
Hey,
in
Siri.
existence?
Driving directions to 111 Route 30 North, Bombazine, Vermont.
On the map?
is it just behind the
Yeah.
corner store?
That's what John said, right behind. It must be Mohammed's, he must still own it.
Well, that shows the corner store, doesn't it?
Yep. Well, I think it's the back end of the corner store.
What used to be the car museum.
Yeah. There was a business out there, but it wasn't liquor.
There's been a couple different
My
ones.
phone just died.
Auto Redemption for a while, then it was
Yeah.
something else.
And there
There
was
was a
that,
guy that sold the blinds.
Yeah.
And John LaFonda had his man cave.
I think he still does.
Does he?
it was tarot card reading.
I don't remember that one.
Well, the lady that worked inside the deli had like a tarot card reading place.
No
out there.
kidding. Jeez, I missed that.
Yeah.
Your future says you need to buy a turkey
I would have known what was
sandwich.
gonna happen tonight.
Is that chicken I just sacrificed part of the
So,
food?
what's our course of action here, board?
I mean, the chief is okay with it. Is this is a new one, or we don't have any idea?
I don't, does it say when it expires? If it has an expiration date, then it's previous. Date of submission was May 1st. License active, renewal in process. License,
When the current license expires.
because it has a license number already. At the bottom of that, I don't know what you're looking at for, the bottom of page 2. It says license active, renewal in process, but it already has a license number. And it's Green Mountain Market, number 104, which he owns Green Mountain Produce.
You know, Green Mountain Produce over in Whitehall.
I mean, I guess we don't really have any reason not to, since there's already one there. And the chief is okay with it, and we don't have any other issues that we know of. I've just never heard of it.
We have to do a drive-by tomorrow.
Unless, it could, I mean, I don't know what he does, it's a second-class license. So, beer and wine?
Maybe they just sell to their other stores.
Yes, I'm saying, maybe it's just a place where he buys and puts it in there.
Storage?
Because there's never seen any retail, anything there.
No, you never see anybody coming and going. Well, I would make a motion to approve a second-class liquor license for, is that CO Grocers Group LLC?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Would make a motion to approve a tobacco license for CO Grocers Group LLC.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Motion fails. We can readdress it at a subsequent meeting if the applicant so desires, Mike.
I'll let him know.
But that motion fails. Lack of support. Reassessor appraisal update. So we all got the letter from Mary Jo to the Vermont Department of Taxes asking for an extension on our grand list abstract of 1 week, and I think Mary Jo's confident that we can achieve this. So any other thing to add, Mike?
This was a cautionary, this was, have it in place just in case. So she's still pushing hard with the reappraisals company to, stay on track. But she said, let's just have it just in case.
It'll be a nice buffer.
And in her opinion and yours, are they still on track?
They are.
Okay.
I spoke with her the other day, and that's what she said. I asked if she thought we needed to get involved again, and she said no, she did not think so.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Anything else on this? Facility use agreement review approval. I didn't have anything in my packet on that.
There's a place for the select board, just somebody to sign it.
Oh, do I have something in the blue folder?
I don't know, if not, you just use, I can use my stuff, but.
Yeah, we'll take that one. Okay, so, once again, I didn't have anything in my packet on this one, Mike.
On which one is it?
Facility use agreement review approval.
Yeah, it's still with Merrill. I sent her two different, updated documents for one-time events, and one for long-term, and she has not replied to me. Her paralegal's doing a lot of this work, but, yeah, so I don't have it back, but basically what it says in the one-time event. There's alcohol it stays with the select board, like the last meeting you talked about by exception only. But it's, the difficulty is building the form in Hagov from a piece of paper. Is taking all those fields, because it's literally, it's 2 pages, the document, and if so I started working on this in Hagov. It's like 3 questions that fits per page, and there's probably gonna be lots and lots of verbiage on this thing. So somebody filling out this form is gonna take them a long time to do it, but that's, if they wanna be able to pay online and see what room's available and stuff, that's the way to do it. So I started working on it last week, and it's just tedious. But I figured out I can do it. And I was talking with Christine, and she's the one that got me started on it. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I had John on the phone, and I'm like, this is doable. It's just gonna take a little bit of time to build it. So, but I wanted the attorney to make sure that there was no liability language in there for the town. So I'm waiting for that, and then I'll be able to finish the form out. It was all about the just the community rec center, not Crystal Beach. They got their own process for that.
So at this point, we don't need to do anything on this except
Sorry.
say thank you for your effort and please carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, the UDR review process, it's unfortunate the full board isn't here, but what I had proposed before was to have anyone after the select board has reviewed the UDR, if they can consolidate a list of items they feel need to be discussed and provide them to me, I will do nothing but cut and paste those and then provide them to the entire select board and the planning commission and the zoning administrator and town manager. And reviewing this, and I had our parliamentarian review it as well, as long as we do not do anything in the way of providing feedback or discussing it, we are not in violation of any ethics codes or open meeting law. Do you agree with that, Mark?
I do agree with that.
So I would suggest, if you're willing, and you have issues you feel we need to discuss in our joint meeting with the planning commission, in the interest of actually being able to discuss things meaningfully, if you can provide those issues or questions or concerns to me, I will do nothing but cut and paste them onto a whole document so that we have things from Mark, things from me, things from whoever. And then that list will be consolidated and sent to the planning commission, the zoning administrator, the town manager, and all the select board members, and nothing else will happen but that cut and paste. So that when we have that meeting on the 29th, we know what everyone else is gonna bring up. The idea being that maybe if you have a constructive for ways to help resolve some of those issues, you've already thought of solutions to what the issues are before we get there.
Just
That's my intent.
as long as prior to that, after you give it to the planning commission, they don't do any action, they don't take any actions on it, like altering the UDR and then coming to the board when we sit in that meeting to talk and say, okay, we already changed that.
They
so-
cannot do that, no, but we'll be clear on that. They
Okay.
can't take, that nobody can take any action. This is
Okay.
only, and VLCT is clear on this, you can distribute information for future discussion, but you cannot discuss it. And so you can't act on it either, and that would include the planning commission as well. And I'll make sure they're clear on that.
Okay.
So we've been back and forth on this a few times, so we should be pretty close to the end of it. Right? Initially, when we spoke with them, there was the issue that we discussed with camping trailers.
Yeah, I have all that stuff. My concern is still that we're not gonna have a finished copy to approve. Like, we can't approve what they have now and not a finished copy because they have sentences that don't end.
Well,
They
that's-
just randomly run off. Like, I can't say, okay, this is fine, and then it gets approved, and then it goes out to the public, and there's just dead-end sentences that don't mean anything in it.
What I'm trying to get to, Rob, is to have a consolidated list of all
Yeah.
those things, so that when we get together on the 29th, and we get to, okay, this sentence runs off into nothing, then the planning commission is sitting there, how do we resolve this? and we get it fixed, and then we move on to the next item, whatever it is. There's somebody that may or may not want race cars in their front yard, or camping trailers in their backyard, or whatever it is.
No,
So that,
The camping trailer issue, I believe, has been resolved, right?
I think so, but I will have to double check it.
Okay. And then I believe they resolved our concern about fence setbacks.
They modified it for farmers,
For
but
farmers.
that's as far as they went, and there's some people in this town that don't feel that's good enough. So we'll discuss, but that's another thing that we have to discuss.
Okay.
And we're not gonna resolve it tonight.
No, I just, because this meeting is warned, we can discuss it for a couple minutes.
True.
And at least make sure that this board, there's no point bringing up another issue about campers. If I bring up an issue about campers or boats and nobody else on the select board supports it, it would be crazy for me to bring it up, just a waste of time.
So I don't know about any issue on campers being corrected.
There was that issue where if you had a camper, it had to be parked
Yeah,
behind the rear line of your house.
There was that one, and then there was another one with, where somebody could camp in it for 2 weeks on their property. And we haven't discussed that yet.
I know the health officers, I believe.
We
it
got a
was the
letter,
health
we got
officer
letters on it, but we haven't discussed it at all.
said- And another issue, and I guess I should have noticed this earlier, and I don't want to put a stick in the spokes. And maybe it's not an issue, but, you know, they specifically mention if you have a motor vehicle for racing purposes only, it has to be shielded from view at all times, I believe. And I get that, you know, we don't want to have a community where there's old stock cars laying in the front yard. But at the same time.
I do, but
You do.
I enjoy that, so.
But at the same time, you know, I think racing cars are nice to look at. Pontoon boats, not so much. Wrap one in white plastic, that's an eyesore, in my opinion. And there's a lot of homes in our town that have one on their front lawn. And that's their right. That's what they bought, fine. I don't like to look at it, but it's their right. Some of the houses up on the lake have 3 or 4 because their neighbors don't have a place to put it, so they all put them in one spot. Just seems a little discriminatory to me that if you can afford a $100,000 pontoon boat, you can wrap it in white plastic, put it anywhere you want. And if what you really want to do is race a stock car, you're under a different regulation as to where you can put it. And to
I
me,
don't
that seems
remember
like
seeing that, but I'll have to look at it again.
motor vehicles for racing purposes only.
That might be towards the end, I'm only on like page 112 or
Unless you
something.
can register it.
So you're almost halfway.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking you guys to do, if you would please, is to come up with a list of your items of, the list of topics of discussion, and we'll consolidate it all into one list. And then, when we meet on the 29th, we'll at least know what's on everybody's mind.
Okay.
Okay.
But we can't do anything, can't take any action, can't provide feedback even.
But we can tonight.
We can tonight,
So
yes.
that's kind of what I'm bringing up. Should I let
Right.
this lie? Is this,
I would say that is something we mark down and we discuss.
So, please put it on your list.
okay.
And plus anything else after you finish your review of the UDR. And
I've read the whole thing. That's the only thing that I can find.
well, I'm gonna go back through it again, because I promised one of our residents that I would take a deeper dive on a couple of things. So I gotta go through it
Makes sense to me in a
again.
lot of ways, but in some, it's financially discrimination. There's a section about having, you can't have broken machinery visible from the road. That makes sense, except some of the nicest homes in this town have disabled farm tractors in front of their houses for aesthetics. The guy across the street from my son has several pieces of antique farm machinery around his fence for aesthetics. So there's kind of a double standard there.
So that's something you better put on your list, Mark.
Okay. I just don't want everybody to think I'm an idiot for bringing this up and delaying a meeting.
But we need to have a UDR that makes sense for everybody when it's done, and we need to craft a good product. Now, the planning commission's put a lot of effort into it.
They have, and that's,
But-
I hate to,
That's our role is to go through it and make sure that we think it makes sense and it's in the best interest of the town.
we need to represent all the people in the community.
Yep. And we have 150 days from the date it was presented to us to resolve these issues. And I think that started in mid-March. Is that correct, Mike?
That was all the names, right?
The-
Reading this.
The planning commission submitted the UDR to the select board for review and approval in March, I believe it was.
I think it was before, that was before March.
Okay, well, I'll check. Karen works tomorrow, correct?
Yes, Karen Oakman, yes.
So I'll check with her tomorrow on what the date was that they actually submitted it to us, because the clock started then. We have 150 days to get it done, or they get to start over. So, or I don't know if start over is the right word, but it's a setback that we want to avoid.
Do
I'll
you
make
need me
sure
to look
that
that up,
we-
or you're gonna look it up?
I'll look it up. And we'll need to know the chronology, and I'll make sure the rest of the board knows that. And that I can just let them know, and that's fine. So that you understand the chronology, we know what the gates are.
Okay.
Okay, so that it for the UDR review process?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Just trying to expedite the process, that's all. So, adoption of private road, Edward Drive. So what we have to do here is actually approve the name of the road, is that correct?
Correct. Where there was one structure, this is on Sand Hill Road, at Davis's place. They've got plans to put 2 more structures in behind there. So when you get 3 or more residences on a private road, it's supposed to be named, they gotta do 911 addressing. So Christine worked with, Tyler Hermanson from 911, and they come up with, the addresses, and now he needs to have that thing named so that deliveries can be made in post offices, and 911 it'll show up in 911 if there's an emergency at that location. So,
But it's private. We incur no obligation to maintain it.
correct. The only thing that we do on private drives is if the person that owns, the landowners, like in this case Ed Davis, if he wants to put the sign up there, he can go through the town. We charge him to buy the materials, we charge him to put it in, labor and stuff like that. And that's how it reads, the letter, the policy. So he knows that, and
There's no out-of-pocket for us at all on any of this, so.
Oh, it's just like that road on East Hubbardton Road that we named last year. I don't recall the name of the road, but
So we just need to make a motion to change 99 Sand Hill Road to 20 Edward Drive.
correct. And
Is
then,
that your recommendation?
yes, yeah, and I mean, we've worked with 911, and we don't really have much of a choice here. They measured it out, so what I would ask the board to do is, say 99 Sand Hill now is reclassified as 20 Edward Drive, and make the statement that next one down, the 2 buildings beyond them will be 50 Edward Drive A and B, and 75 Edward Drive A and B.
Would make a motion to accept that 99 Sand Hill will be changed to 20 Edward Drive, and the 2 new buildings will be 50 Edward Drive, Unit A and B, and 75 Edward Drive, Unit A and B.
Second?
moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. No, the sign maintenance policy's right behind it, actually. I had to
Yep.
put it in there.
Yeah, I read that. Okay, Mike, you're up, manager's report.
I'll do the same thing I did last time, barring your questions. There was a couple new things in there that people might want to be aware of, I guess, is the salt and sand shed. I visited up there today. Great timing. Myron White was up there, and they're placing the forms to pour the walls tomorrow. And I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to text Jeff about electricity, and Russ shows up with the electrician and said, where do you want to put the electricity? And so we worked with Myron, we got it all figured out. They're putting a grounding in there. This was all worked out within 15 minutes on site, whereas if that wall was poured tomorrow and we had to put the electricity through, it would have been cutting through brand new concrete.
Yeah, perfect.
So it was great timing. That's, the walls are getting poured tomorrow.
Awesome.
And I said, my concern is there's money that sunsets on June 30th for this project. Because there's $160,000 that was ARPA when it got put in the general fund, it's gonna create that artificial surplus. And so to get Wilkes in there to pave it before June 30th, so we don't have to extend our contract with Ruby to lease the other salt shed. And Myron said, I think it'll be done way before then. But he's not the general contractor, he's just the concrete guy. So I had to reach out to Bud and talk to him and Wilkes to find out. First of all, we have to get him out here. I talked to Jeff about it, getting Wilk out here to look at the Green Mountain Church of Christ parking lot to give us a quote for that, see what that was gonna cost. And the paving up there at the salt shed. So we need to know that stuff and then also make sure that Wilk can do the work.
Could they do it before the building's built anyway, if there was a delay? Because, I mean, if once the walls are up, they should just be able to be inside of it, right?
That's what I want to talk to Bud about, because what he's gonna be doing, what his functions, I don't want to step and slow him down, to get the finished product if we're trying to kick him out of there to get Wilkes in there. So I just had to see if time-wise it can work out, but, it's just Wilkes will be they're the pivotal point right now, but get it done before June 30th. Without the board doing a resolution to carry the money over. There is a fail-safe, is doing a resolution, but trying to refrain from having you guys do that this year, because of it's very difficult for somebody from the outside to look at this ARPA dumping into the general fund and surpluses. It's just, even our accountants, comes to me once a week or so and says, what would we do that? So it's pretty intricate, I guess, and
It just makes things more complicated.
it does. And so if we can get that damn thing paved and our salt out of there before June 30th, worst case is we're gonna have to store it in the ground somewhere. Because Jeff reached out to other towns and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but Pulteney for Haven didn't have any room. West Rutland, they've got water problems, and where they'd put it, we're gonna set the salt in water. So the best that we get ours done before June 30th and have our stuff moved out of there, of Ruby's, and into our new one by June 30th. So still some moving parts to work out, but the way it's now, 12th of May? The walls are going up tomorrow. So I asked him, I said, how long does this have to cure before they can start working? He goes, he can start working on next day.
That's a steel building, right?
It's a metal or a wooden framed trusses and everything, but with a steel or aluminum siding.
Pole barn.
Yeah, basically.
Pole barn.
So we talked
Where they
about,
put them up fast.
Shouldn't take long for the
You send the
concrete to
crew in,
harden up
they're
enough.
done fast.
and all the stuff sitting on the ground up there, the trusses and everything, so.
I know when Tony poured for my garage, he said, as soon as we strip the forms off, you can start building.
We're at the backfilled image.
It's a wooden building, it wasn't, anything different.
But I thought that would be a good update. It's moving along. It's gonna be, we said we wanted it done before June. Looks like high probability it'll be done before June, and ready to go for this winter. On page 1 of this report, this was about the pedestrian accessibility grant, the $1.2 million grant for Main Street. I sent the state the MPM for it, Nadia, somebody, forgot, I put her name in, I think. I sent, what's that?
Isn't it?
Lydia or Lugo, yeah,
Lugo.
Nadia Lugo. The MPM questionnaire and recommendation to go with the Rutland Regional Planning Commission as the municipal project manager. It's a streamlined process. You don't have to go out to bid and do all this stuff. So as soon as I get that back approved, Stephanie and Rutland Regional Planning Commission are raring to get going. So that's just progress. It's good to see progress.
And that will be, their services will be of no cost to us.
Right, it's part of the grant.
Part of our,
Correct. The South Street project, I received back word from Brian Birch that he was okay with the language from our attorney, so those letters will go out this week, probably tomorrow or the next day, to all those 7 property owners along the South Street project to get their 10-foot construction easement, and that thing was gonna start moving on too,
So is it still a realistic expectation to see that done this year?
this year, yeah. Yep. Should have talked to Myron White about that today when I saw him. I just received an email today about the grants and aid that they were good to go on Moscow Road, and that they said basically you can start moving. So that was a green light on that one.
The only other question I had is where do we stand in the chronology of the stormwater issue up in Crystal Haven?
The letters front to the homeowners, I got that back last week from Hillary and, God, what was the guy's name? Brandon Martin. And that now I have to mail them out to all the homeowners up there, and they want to meet. They want to say, we want to meet with you, because there's only certain places they can put the treatment areas, and they showed me on the map, and those seems to be the ones they really need to talk to, because it's going to impact their property, because this treatment area is going to be on it. One down on East Crystal Haven at the north end, one there on the left, that inner part between the 2 roads, and then one, I don't know, you know where Jim Oplaka's place is? Just south of that, there's that open area they're building right across the road, that little field area. So those are the 2 ones that are gonna be they're gonna be the sellers, we gotta sell it to them. But they wanna meet with them, they wanna have like a public engagement so that people can ask questions, not just those 2 individuals, but everybody. So the letter will go out this week, and hopefully we get something scheduled quickly to meet with those folks. We are putting gates in up there on each end of the north side of East and West Crystal Haven, instead of putting barriers and, just something, they're more aesthetically pleasing, and it'll close that off when it's supposed to be closed off, like during the summer.
that connector,
Right.
so we are gonna close it off.
Yeah, every summer it gets closed, and every winter it's open so they can plow. But we didn't have anything in place. We were putting those damn sawhorses, rickety old things in there.
I thought we didn't have to close it.
It's never got resolved.
I thought we had decided last year that we weren't, we talked about it, but I don't know if we ever actually made the decision.
There was a discussion about, years ago that,
The original map showed it.
yeah, no, not close the road off totally, just the gate, during the summer, they don't want people driving around. So it's all these years, that was done by petition. Remember when Joe Bruno was the chairman of the select board? A group of people came in when we were over next door, and they wanted to open it back up. And the statement that was made at that time was, it was closed by petition. So if you want this open back up, then get a petition and bring it back to us. And nobody's ever come back with that petition. They petitioned to have it closed during the summer,
Who
basically.
was they?
The group up in that area. I mean, I don't remember, off the top of my head, it was 7.5 years ago. I don't remember who came in, but I remember very clearly that, and I could find the minutes, that Joe Bruno said it was done by petition, and so if you want it opened up again to all year round, then bring back a petition. And that never got
Odd
resolved.
that you could petition to close the town road.
That was what it was said back
I
again.
find that odd too. You know, when we were up there, there was one particular homeowner that was really adamant it was closed, but there were several others that I spoke to that really wanted it open.
Please, I want it open. If I was king for the day, it would be open. But people are using it as private parking spaces because they moved the barriers back so they can back a car up in there and they have an extra parking spot.
So are we gonna have the gates so that you won't be able to pull a car up in there? And they're gonna be locked so that nobody can open them?
First response, the fire department, police department, highway will all have keys to those
Okay.
things. But it'd be locked up so that it doesn't become blocked off, for one, and it's not a private parking spot.
I don't see why we're gonna put gates up. I would just leave it open. Say, hey, it's a safety concern. Fire trucks, first response.
Well, at one point, every year we put up barriers, or not like permanent barriers, but.
Jersey
but
barriers.
No, we did that. I told Jeff you can't do that. The firemen aren't gonna jump out and move a Jersey barrier. But they had barrels and sawhorses and signs and stuff like that.
I think it would warrant maybe a discussion with them again up there, because I know the people were concerned about through traffic and all that, but do they want extra parking for themselves in the summertime? If we inform them that that road's gonna be blocked off flush with our road and there's gonna be no turning around, no parking, and with all the Amazon trucks and UPS trucks, they're all gonna have to back around somewhere, so somebody's driveway's getting pulled into.
And that was,
If there's a fire down there,
It's gonna take extra time for somebody to come in.
ambulance, any type of first response.
Yeah, I mean, if the road is blocked for some reason on one side and first response needs to come through on the other, if it's just somebody in a pickup that's showing up there early, they're not gonna have the ability to open that gate, right? Cause not every first responder is gonna have the key or the code, it'd be just one.
well, the combinations, we can disseminate more than keys. If it was a combination or, but I'd soon have it open, because I think the safety issue is when a big truck, a delivery truck can't go all the way around and they have to back up to find the nearest driveway to back up, I think that's more of a safety hazard than anything.
Most accidents happen in reverse.
I think that we should see if we can't have a discussion with the homeowners down there before we purchase any gates.
I think that's too late. Jeff, are the gates already purchased?
They are. We can use them other places.
We can
though.
use them other places.
You're talking about using some at Dewey Field, at the T-ball, there's.
Because I'm just curious to know if they learn that it's not gonna be extra parking and turnaround areas for vehicles there, if their tune is gonna change to pulling through.
In any case, we're not obligated to provide parking for residents on Crystal Haven.
Oh, I agree, and I agree that the gates, if we are closing it off, the gates need to be tight to the road, but I would prefer to see it open.
And if we leave that open, that has to be understood by everyone that there has to be a clear traveled way through there.
And we're gonna have to put stop signs and all that stuff
We'll have
up.
to put stop signs up there.
I would be more concerned that we create a liability by closing it.
Well, it's been closed, every summer it gets closed for as long as I've been here, I mean, even before me, because this was something that was put in place years ago. And we opened it up during the winter so that the plow trucks can get through. But this has been talked about over and over and over, and, I mean, Jeff had put some Jersey barriers up there, and I asked him to remove them because those aren't easily moved, if there was a fire or something like that.
I know someone had said that we didn't have a right to put that road in, but on the oldest map that we found, before anything was built up there, it showed that road.
Mm-hmm.
When that was initially laid out in, early 50s, I think.
I think it was before that.
Yeah, it showed that road going around.
In any case, that's not a right, and it was also alleged that wasn't even on its right of way, but after we've had a chance to do a deeper dive, that is not a right of way, that's town property.
Correct.
Therefore, if the town chooses to put a road on town property, the town can.
To me, it just makes sense to leave it open.
And I think we should leave it open, so we need to at least have a discussion with the residents. So perhaps the thing to do, Rob, here's my suggestion, let's put it on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. It could be the next one, we're gonna have a heavy lift next week, next meeting. Maybe the first meeting in June, and we make sure it's properly warned, we're gonna talk about this and we're gonna make a decision. And if the residents want to come and provide input, they're most welcome to do so. But we need to make sure that they're aware that we're gonna be discussing this.
Yeah.
And that's my suggestion. What do you think, guys?
I think that's fair. It's a town road, to me, it should be open. Let everybody know. Jeff, do you see a downside in leaving that open year-round? From a maintenance standpoint?
No, I'd rather have it open. We'll just have to put up some parking signs, and I mean, there's already Davy tree service trucks that, down at the end there that parks out in the road quite a bit. You know, so I don't know when it gets busy, if it's a free-for-all. Like Mike was saying, they just move the barriers. That's why I put the Jersey barriers up. It's one or the other. It's either closed or it's not. I prefer to be open. We grade, there's maintenance, there's ditches there.
First response.
I've
Yeah,
moved
first
those barriers to park there before.
I've only
moved the
had one
barriers to
person
park there
complain.
before.
So let's agree to have a discussion. Now, I don't know that the last week or the last meeting in May is appropriate, only because we have a lot of things on that agenda already.
I think we should probably make sure that it's far enough along in the summertime too, where the homeowners that maybe aren't there year round.
Yeah.
So what's
Have
your
a chance to weigh
recommendation,
in.
Rob? When do you think we should discuss this?
So after July 4th, something like that.
Well, it gives us plenty of time to make sure the public is aware.
But are we keeping it
So-
closed now then, until that date?
Well, have you already got the sawhorses up?
I don't know. I didn't drive down. I drove down there today. I didn't see anything down there blocked. Actually, I was down at the end of that. I didn't see anything blocking it.
Nope, it's open.
I mean, I don't see
Oh, yeah, I
what,
drove around it.
I'd leave it open.
At this
We
point,
get a complaint, I guess. Tell them to come in after the meeting in July.
yeah, I'm looking at my calendar. We'll pick a date right now.
I mean, unless you guys think people will be up earlier, but I think July 4th after that, we can be pretty safe that everybody's homes are gonna be opened up and ready for use.
July 14th is the first select board meeting in July. I may or may not be here, but I don't need to be here.
Let's just
Let's
Plan
schedule
for
it.
that.
Yep.
So let's do it then, July 14th. We're going to have a public discussion about keeping that, or closing that road as we're leaving it open at this point in time. As we see no safety concerns with leaving it open. Or something along those lines. What do you think, Mark?
My concern with leaving it open is, I know that we have in the winter, but there's no stop signs or anything on it right now.
Jeff, what can we do for no parking signs along there? We got stuff up at the garage?
Yes.
All right, we'll be doing that.
We have temporary stop signs we can put in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have stop signs?
Absolutely.
A couple of stop signs and no parking on one side or the other or something. Whatever you think is appropriate, Jeff, to keep it safe.
Jeff, we could take the two down on River Street and Rice Willis Road.
All right, sounds good.
I was gonna say, if we're gonna close roads, let's close Blissfield just past my house.
In a
That'll
safe.
keep the traffic down.
Petition it.
Yeah, I don't like the traffic either.
All right, so we're going to move on. What else, Mike? Manager's report.
Do you want an update on the Route 30 sewer thing with the Premski property? Are you good with it?
I'm good with what was written.
No change, right? You know what it was?
Wednesday this week is allegedly when they're gonna get a report from the engineer, or the league will get it. But we did follow up with the health department. They seem to have absolutely no concern about anything in the leak. They said the lime that's what they would prescribe to be put down, and that the pathogens and all that stuff that will degrade by the sunlight and the just natural environment. They said the only concern might be is if it was like the slab and stuff got underneath the slab, that kind of stuff. So my homework was to contact GW Savage and talk to them about it and what they did and what what they still think should be done, if anything, and then follow up with the health department with what GW Savage has to say, and that's really about it. We took the water sample, it came back less than 1, 235 is the max, so there was no concern there. I was up there, there was visible, there was some lime that was starting to break down there, but, there was no smell or anything like that. But I feel, I've had many conversations with Ms. Premsky, and I feel absolutely horrible of where we're at with it, but I can't, as I told her, I said, they can't change it.
Right.
I personally can't write you a check, and
Well, we talked about that the last time, was writing a check.
I talked to her about it.
She didn't go for it.
No.
They had to roll the dice on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, it's,
All right, let's move on. Anything else, Mike? I have no questions for Mike.
you know, I saw that, I sent you guys a message about the trestle, that the recommendation from Brian Sanderson at V-Trans was to hire an engineer. Because I just couldn't answer the questions, and Jeff couldn't answer them, originally that the contractors had. He's had those conversations since then with V-Trans. They didn't seem to be too overly concerned about it, but if they get underneath digging around those footings and find something, that's compromised or bad, it's gonna stop the project. Now we're gonna have to get an answer to something. These guys are gonna be deep into a project they've got money into, and it'll be, I don't know how long it's gonna get. It would be, you know, kind
That
of,
trestle's not that new either, so.
it's like 1908 or 15 or 30, whatever, it's written on there, it's like
Yeah, so
early 1900s. What's it?
It's 15.
So the odds of finding something are probably fairly high.
Especially after that damage was done from the water. So,
You dig into something that's 100 years old, I'm surprised if you don't get a surprise.
yeah. So now I have to do the addendum and say basically that until, but I'm gonna have to come back to the board with, we're gonna have to find an engineer, a structural engineer to look at this thing. And I'm like, how does a structural engineer gonna find out anything unless they're doing ground penetrating radar or dig it up? I mean, and by that point, that's what the contractor's gonna do. So it's like, but the contractor's gonna be holding the bag if we get to a point where it halts the project. And that's what, two smaller people have dropped out already because of it.
Contractor, the first thing they're gonna do is hand the bag to us, and then we get to hold it.
I think we should have somebody look at it and before we go too much farther with it. The money's there through the grant, but what the cost could go up, I don't know how much, but if they found more issues in there. Because they've already told it, said, the town owns the culvert, the town does not own the structure. So, working with V-Trans is not always the fastest process, so if they did find something wrong with that, how long before they're gonna resolve it?
Right.
And then come up with a cost plan or cost, how much it's gonna cost, they'd have to pay for the structure, not us.
It'll cost enough.
Yeah. Well, they already said originally the project was gonna be like $1.1 million or $1.2 million. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you can get it done for $200,000. So who knows? We don't know. It's like you said, I think we talked today, Dick, you said, you work on an old house and you start tearing it apart and,
Like I said, I'm surprised when I don't get surprised.
yeah. So, let's see. Nothing there. I do have a meeting coming up with DuBois and King on that paving of that section of Class 1 Town Highway from Sand Hill Road to the other side, try to move it up here. I think I'm really wasting my time, but I'll give it a chance, I'll give it a shot. We got some complaints today about Crystal Beach, that it wasn't, the gate was, or the cable was still up, and so that was taken down, and you saw, there was like, the place was crowded.
Yeah, it was packed.
And, so they're in there, it was packed enough where people were still parked along the road. I think those people were parked because Martha, somebody, I don't know, I think it was Martha that went down and locked it, because we got several complaints today.
The parking lot was 10, 20% full, and there was people parked along the road, so they were probably there before the gate got opened.
Yeah, they were on the beach and stuff, and I'm like, we haven't even finished getting the place open, ready to be opened. So that's, my concern is, when they do that work, they really can't have people
Yeah.
laying on the beach while they're trying to spread sand around the beach. So we might have to close it off during that day when they're working on it.
Well, everybody's been behind because of the weather on all outdoor stuff, so people have to understand.
Yep. If you haven't noticed, or if you see Doc Dirksen and members of the Castleton Garden Club, the park and ride looks really nice down there. And we got compliments again about the town office and the flowers and the trees and all that stuff. So, primarily Doc Dirksen's he's the guy out there on his hands and knees fixing that thing. I've seen enough of Doc Dirksen's rump in the air, digging around in that flower garden as I pull out, so.
Well, his efforts are very much appreciated.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any disagreement from the board that I'm gonna send them something, some thank you, some form of thank you, gift cards or something that they can use, and thank you for all the efforts.
Yeah, I mean, if we had to hire somebody to try to neaten all that stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah,
He does the high school as well.
he does the, up at the, beach, he's doing that, he does the park and ride, does the town office, he's gonna be at the fire station, he's gonna work on some of that, because Chris Emmel used to do it, but he's getting to the point where it's a little harder for him to do it, and, they agreed to take on the signs welcoming into the town to build that little raised flower bed around it, and local Corey donating the stone, so they had a lot of work that they do on a volunteer basis. That's it, and burn your questions.
We're going to move on to, make sure I got this right.
Speaking about sending letters, should we send one to Casellas?
Yes, I would, absolutely. I'll craft something up for the select board to sign.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Yes, purchase orders.
Yep. Make a motion to approve purchase order number 051516 to Atomic Professional Audio Incorporated for the audio equipment rental for the Ethan Allen event for the sum of $3,598.48.
That's money that was approved a year ago, right? Yep.
By the voters.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would make a motion to approve purchase order number 051517 to Innovative Municipal Products for 5,002 gallons of calcium for the sum of $6,202.48.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would make a motion to approve purchase order number 051518 to McClure Construction to service the heat pumps and install 2 bathroom fans for the sum of $2,109.55. And that's for the town office, right?
Correct.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You and aye?
Aye, yep. Sorry, I was sleeping there.
I'm already over it.
Make a motion to approve purchase order number 051525 to Stone Environmental for the Crystal Haven Stormwater Services for the sum of $6,493.75, of which we will be reimbursed from the grant.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would make a motion to approve purchase order number 053229 to the Royal Group to install security cameras, 50% of which will be reimbursed by the VLCT passive grant.
Second.
Did I say the sum for the sum of 422710?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
At least then. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would make a motion to approve purchase order number 053856 to Casella Waste System Incorporated for the Class B CDL training for the sum of $2,500.
Does that cover one driver or two?
It's $2,500 each.
Yep.
And they're gonna have to sign a statement that says if they leave before 2 years, then they have to pay back a prorated amount of that.
Wouldn't make, are we
No,
gonna
we're
call?
not- All in favor?
Aye. Would make a motion to approve purchase order number 053857 to Green Mountain Power for the new pole installation and power to the salt shed for the sum of $3,127.92 to come out of the reserve fund.
Second?
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve purchase order number 053859 to BCI Construction for delivery of materials. I'm assuming that's the salt and sand shed,
Yes.
for the sum of $113,362 to come out of the reserve.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Did you say?
Aye.
Perfect.
Make a motion to approve purchase order number 054030 to the Vermont State Treasurer for the dog license issued 1/1/25 through 4/30/25 for the sum of $2,387.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the minutes show all purchase orders passed 3-0. Just in case Allison doesn't hear one of us. I think we got them all, Rob, but let's be sure. Okay. Move on
Make 'em
to,
warrants.
To warrants, please.
Make a motion to approve warrant number 0512R for the sum of $117,189.92. Warrant number 0509 for the sum of $39,077.66. Warrant number 0512 for the sum of $430,654.75. Warrant number 0501P for the sum of $18,554.94. And warrant number 0508P for the sum of $19,361.74.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve the warrants. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
While the board's signing that, I wanted to announce that Megan Mullen started her first day today as the new secretary to the tax collector.
Okay. Will Megan be working tomorrow?
Megan will be working tomorrow.
I'll try to make time to come by and say hello then.
All right, thank you. She made it clear that she said, I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, hopefully there'll be a little relief for the town manager on the horizon.
I hope so. I think it will.
So our paper hanger goes from 1 arm to 1.1 arms?
Any relief would be good.
So when you get all done, Mark, you should have a total of 5 warrants. Heavy on the purchase orders, light on the warrants this week.
Yeah. Spending money like drunken sailors?
No,
I know you, I just said it for your benefit. We've had this
I will
discussion
not
before.
confirm or deny my
Not drunken
sobriety from
sailors, yeah.
overseas. I was a sailor overseas, we'll leave it at that.
I did find some on the minutes from the last meeting too. We got that name spelt wrong.
Okay.
Seeing as how I got to the bottom of my pile of paperwork here and found some different spelling.
April, page 2.
Yeah, there's the correct spelling.
Yep. Hey, Allison, on page 2 of the April 28th minutes, coin drop requests, second line, Jeff Schroeder's name is spelled wrong. It's got an O in there, O-E instead of A.
What page was that?
Page 2 of the April 28th, coin drop requests, second line. It should be S-C-H-R-O-E-D-E-R.
S-C-H-R-O-E-D-E-R?
A-D-E-R, isn't it?
Where did the warrants go?
Mark's in.
You got all 5 of them, Mark?
There's a traffic jam on the way.
Okay.
They got it all cleared up.
Just if I don't get these back to the accounting office, there's gonna be unhappy AR people, or recipients, or whatever you wanna call it.
It's, Allison, it's S-C-H-R-O-E-D-E-R.
So we're done with the warrants, so we'll move on to select board comments and/or concerns. Mark?
I have no concerns. I think I commented at the last meeting, you're working on the EMS fees for the university.
Just writing you a note saying I'm working on that. I just got an update from Justin on the calls. It's been, the last week was crazy, but yes, so, and I got the name of the individual to send it to, so.
Perfect. Then I'm all set.
Rob?
Just gonna write you a note.
I got something, but I'm not gonna open it up tonight,
Okay.
because I don't wanna lead on to other discussions that are probably gonna come shortly here anyway, so.
I'm all set, so we can move on to action items. I'm going to get a hold of our zoning administrator tomorrow to make sure we understand the UDR's timeline and what the expectations or hopes are, and make sure that the rest of the board understands what those timelines are.
Make sure they don't make any changes before the meeting comes up.
Well, I think we all, yeah, I'll include in my thing that if you have items that you feel need to be discussed on the 29th, that it would be appreciated if those were listed and made and sent to me so that I can send them to the other select board members. And I'll also make clear in that, because this will be an email to Mary Lee and Robert as well, that no discussion and no feedback can take place. It's just, this is only to disseminate information. But in that email, I'll also make sure everyone knows what the timeline is, when it was officially submitted to us and when we're expected to have our end of this complete. So that we know. It's probably sometime in July or August, but I think we need to know that.
Yeah, we don't want to let go around that.
Okay, that's all I got for action items. That's all I got. Anything else?
Just from Mike that he was gonna write letters to Dr. Dirksen and them
Yeah.
guys and
And
Casellas.
playground for Mary McIntyre, getting that information on what they already did on the playgrounds, and move the Crystal Haven stuff to 14th July for public discussion.
Mhm.
And the tobacco license onto the next meeting.
Yep. So we're all on the same page. That's the important part. Okay, do we need any executive sessions?
I don't.
I do not. Anyone else?
I think tonight we're good. Without
Then
the rest
Mike-
of the board here, I don't think we can really do much anyway, so.
I would be reluctant to do much. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn, but I want it to be noted that we're ending at 9:04 and Bob's not here.
Acknowledged.
So make a motion to adjourn at 9:04.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.